Hello, everybody. Here is the Wisdom Factory with Women Matters. That means a conversation circle of women talking about, we would say, the world and our lives and a little bit everything, but, you know, from a little bit elevated perspective, we would say. At least we hope. And today, that's me, Heidi Hörnlein. There is Bettina from Denmark. Oh, by the way, I'm in Italy. Bettina from Denmark. Bettina, say hello so they see you. If you don't say anything, the camera doesn't switch, so you must say
okay,
something.
I just muted myself. Hello, Bettina from Denmark.
Okay. And Gertraud from Germany.
Yeah, hi.
And Luna and Tammy from the same place in Canada somewhere.
Vancouver.
Vancouver. Wonderful. Excuse me. Luna is the only one you have to remember the name. Of everybody else, you can see the name. I have to give over a moment. I have to clear my throat.
I can offer you some virtual herbs.
Thank you. And we do shared leadership, so that doesn't mean I have all the time to talk when I can't. So somebody else can take over. Anyway, this is the edition of June. We are on the 22nd of June of 2017. And we will see what comes up today, because in the fourth field, we were not so very sure what we wanted to do. But I think now they have two topics coming to the surface. One was, I think, Gertraud and myself, we would talk a little bit about what we lived in the Integral Conference in Germany. And then there is Luna, who has done a great work in getting together all our passions, which we created, our superpowers and our ideas, how the state of the world is. But before we begin, I'm wondering, is everybody wearing earbuds, or mute yourself, because there is a little bit of background noise.
I don't. So maybe tell me if it's going to be better.
Okay. So using this interval, I can talk a little bit. We do that at the beginning, just telling you where we were. But, Gertraud and myself, we met in Berlin at the German Integral Conference, and it was dedicated to the courage of feeling. And that subtitle was Mastering the Emotions, but not in a way as we were taught to in our youth, to push them under the carpet and pretend that we don't have them, but to learn how to do that. And it's not that we really learned it in these 3 days, but we did many exercises. And the target was, the direction was to heal the wounds of the German past and to make Germany and Germans free to become true leaders in the world. Because when we take over leadership, as we are still now, with having acknowledged the guilt and everything, but not having really worked on the psychological, the deeper layers of our consciousness, our collective and individual consciousness, it is not said that if we take over leadership, that it won't end up similarly. Or what is verifying itself at the moment is that we are not really able, they are not really willing. Shall we not? Shall we not? So, you know, this, I think in the present political situation, we need a strong leadership. And Germany would be the country to take over, but we are not really, let's say, ready for it. And so we did big healing work, constellation. Oops. I muted you, Bettina. And I thought we'd just share a little bit our impression. And for me, it was a very, very, very deep work. And I think for almost probably all of us who participated. And at this point, I would invite Gertraud to talk a little bit about her experience there and the conclusions that you have drawn.
Yeah, maybe first talk about the frame. So it was in Berlin. It was conducted by the Integral Forum, and they have handed over the facility management, the facilitation to people outside the forum, which was really great. It was Professor Barbara von Maibohm, who has worked a lot about feelings, appreciation in leadership, and about overcoming the past, or what does it need to really take the past into our hearts and heal it. And there were about 135 German-speaking people. So mostly from Germany, but also Austria and Switzerland, and some so to call immigrants. So people that work here, live here, somewhere already have German passports, but come from America or somewhere. So it was a very interesting mixture of people. And so we had 2.5 days and keynote speeches and then workshops. So you could decide where to go. And so what we can share is only about where there was a plenary and then what we did as workshop participants, which doesn't mean we can give you the whole picture. But so it was in the morning and in the afternoon and then the next day. So there were 3 core speeches. One about what I thought was really, really interesting was with Vivian Dietmar, who talks about feelings. So this is and emotions user manual. And she talks about, like in the Enneagram, she talks about the feelings when they give you strength and when they really they support you, and the flip side. So like what makes them hurt people or hurt the relationship. And like in Joyce, so she's talking about 5 emotions, and like joy is on the one side, it's appreciation, and on the flip side, it's illusion. Or rage, it's like destruction on the flip side, but a forward power, getting to do something on the powerful side. And that was really interesting to really dig deep into the emotions and have a landscape and to go with that. Another one was Christian Meyer. Yeah, he was talking about, you could say, how to reach enlightenment very quickly. And he says it goes about really holding the emotions. So not, have those clouds and only breathing and have the emotions not be there, but to fully embrace them and fully take them in and really be with them without having to act them out. And that was really, so we had so everybody did some little exercises, and was really, really interesting to how many emotions can you hold in your space. It was very, very interesting. And the third one was a woman who's a psychiatrist, and she's working with how still affect the next generations, even the grandchildren. So what they couldn't do, the emotions they couldn't deal with and couldn't heal, how they hand them over to the next generation. So she had some depression patients and said this was not explainable by their own lives. But when she went back and saw what the history in the family was, then she could understand what happened. And she wrote a book about it, and also did a lot of research. So she came up with a lot of, a lot of numbers, and this was really to get connected to our own history in numbers, not just feelings and stories.
Yeah, and she said also that now is the right moment to really work onto our history, because the last people more or less are dead who were the perpetrators or the real victims of that time of the Nazi regime. And so it's up to us, our generation and the next ones, to bring healing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and we had some workshops, so I just can talk about the ones I attended, and one was about sadness. We did a little exercise, people face to face. Each had 10 minutes, and there was one ongoing question. So you asked your counterpart ongoingly, what does it feel like to mourn or to be in mourning? So not to be sad. So it's not just this one emotion, but to be in this mourning state of being. Oh, this was amazing, and very much connected. So feeling the other when they talk, and you keep on asking them. So that was really interesting. And also a workshop about emotions in business. How do you deal with emotions in business beyond the normal? And yeah, so we had a pretty interesting discussion. And maybe you start with talking about Heidi, about on Saturday night we had the constellation. So in Hungary we had one constellation about Europe, reinventing Europe, and now it was about healing Germany. So
yeah, and I
can join in when to add.
Okay, this constellation, there were 40 roles, from the victims of the Nazi regime, heroes, to other victims, to qualities like I had, for instance, the coldness of feelings, the closing the feelings, and all sorts of roles, also the German soul was there. That was the first one. She was selected. All the other could volunteer. And the German earth and soil or landscape, and very, very, very many which seem to have the war, for instance, and had all connection to that. And it was a completely free constellation. I think it took an hour and a half or 2 hours, no, when we were in the circle, 40 people, and then it moved, you know. And we had our name tags, but when you are inside, you see only the people you meet. You don't know what is going on. So I can mainly say about me that I volunteered immediately for this role because I know it from my mother and I know it from myself, and the emotions are too many. So I get cold, close them away, and get really, you know, people have told me that I'm cold. So, and when I was in this situation, in this role, I noticed that I'm beginning to be arrogant and look on other people with contempt. And, you know,
She was like that. Yeah.
Wow. But feel it in your own body, you know. I sort of knew it from past experiences in my own life, but to feel it so completely and see other people, then they sort of, you know, they didn't want. I could really feel how it is when you are in this situation, how you don't care for the person who is whining or has problems or whatever, which is down on the floor and crying. You are just, what is that, you know? And at a certain point, then I noticed that I could melt. I had some very nice encounters. The most important encounter was when I touched the victims of the Nazi regime before she avoided me completely. And that was a moment when I could touch her finger, and that was, there was a shower going all over me. And after a while, I noticed that I was melted, or maybe I was even melted before, but I went on the floor. And then the facilitator came and she took me in the arm, because what came out also in one of the keynote speakers, I don't know if you are aware of that in German book, which the only one which was available during the 30s and 40s was the Nazi one. No? The idea that you don't touch the children and that you let them cry and blah, blah. This was still printed until the 80s. So you can imagine how we were grown. No touching, no connection. Don't create connection with the children. So, and out of this, you know, you create the defense mechanisms. And I can really now understand how things are possible, how these things could be possible by own experience, you know. And so hoping that all these roles, many of them could dissolve, that we can contribute energetically to cut the knot, no? to get out of this inevitability of needing to stay in this role, you know. And individually we can do that, and hopefully ever more people do that. So I would like to say that, because for me it was really, you know, and hopefully we can do something for the world and for our people also, but not only that, for everybody. You want to add something?
Yeah, I think it's really amazing how when you take that role, you really are that in that center. So there were the other people around and 40 people in the middle, and they were holding the space, and we just put that thing on our, the role, going inside, and then this is it. So it was so amazing. And I had the role of the migrants, not the refugees. They were there too. So we had all kinds of, we had the people coming from Russia, so what we call Russlanddeutsche, so the German heritage, so the people from German heritage in Russia that came in the 80s and 90s. they were there, but I was the migrants, this like the work migrants, guest workers, what we call them.
I'm sorry, but it's almost half an hour now.
Bettina?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's been half an hour and I'm getting a bit confused because I think it's very interesting to hear your experience. But on the other hand, I also thought we had a lot of work to do in this group. So I'm just wondering what the purpose is, because I have had some wonderful experiences in constellations. I can clearly see how we can use that, but I just see the time running, so I'm getting a bit frustrated.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's because we are still under the spell of this, and that we want to share the experience and the hope that we can do something, you know, and not only for ourselves, but for the whole world, let's say. But I can imagine, I think mainly we have given you an overview of how it was. And if you could speak German, it would have been nice to see you there. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We still have half an hour or a little more, and then we can also continue later. So I would invite Luna to present what you have done, and then we go into the discussion.
All right. So I just want to bring around the connection as well with the share. It really hit me. So Tammy and I have been in a process where we really looked through everyone's shares, and then we went through the process of writing them out and cutting them out and placing them. And then I was just sitting with it today and thinking, how does this go into a Venn diagram? And I just went with the feeling, and the feeling that I got in my being was that we are all, the path that we share is a path of helping others. And it's really people-centered. And briefly, I just want to share that I represented the Earth in a constellation. And she clearly said, when you pray, when you do this work, when you constellate, it's for you. And the sacred rituals are for you, for the humans. I'm okay. I've got this. I can take it. I've got you. I'm holding you. And so I just saw this theme when I was looking at what everyone had shared and put in. And it was really about this people-centered focus, is how can we really make the world better by helping each other. And so, yeah, you just saw the Venn diagram there. And I really love to hear everyone's feedback, because again, that was just what came through, and it felt like it was from the field, and it was just really in the present moment. But I'd really love to get everyone else's perspectives and then talk about what that might look like moving forward.
Could you please present it so that we all know what it is? Because I haven't had a chance to look at it. It was only uploaded like 15 minutes before.
Okay, I will put it on the screen and leave it there. And while it is there, you speak, Luna, okay?
Okay. So, so I took the 3 sections that we discussed in our last meeting, which were what is your superpower? Or what are your superpowers, as it were, because it turned out that was the largest category, it looked like, which I thought was amazing. We're all really connected with our superpowers. It was really neat to see. And then what is it that you're interested in? What are you drawn to? What are you passionate about? What is the thing that you could spend all day doing, and it's not about receiving money in return, or it's just, you just want to be there and you want to do that. And then the third was, what are the biggest issues that are facing humanity today? And it was really interesting because when I've sort of had this conversation with other people or done a little bit of this with other people, the biggest issues that come up are sort of maybe more the causes. Disease, famine, so our sort of our resource issues, environmental issues. But what I really noticed with everyone's shares was that it was really around human beings and what we need to shift inside of us in order to help the world, and be really about being in symbiosis with the world and returning to right relationship and connection with the world. So I saw this theme of people, personal, and relationship themes. And so that's where the convergences that I put on this diagram came to be. So I looked at, okay, what are our collective superpowers, and what are our interests, and where do those intersect? And so I put people, conscious development, and caring, and that there were many intersecting superpowers that intersected with the interpersonal skills. So,
could you give an example, just so I understand what you mean?
Yeah, and I'm just going to pull up the pictures for myself here. Let's see. So, for example, there were a few of us who had put the word caring, or sorry, calm. Let's go with calm. that was one that came through a few times. There was sort of this theme of calm, caring, integrity as superpowers. And then what are we interested in? Teaching people how to be self-referencing, creating systems for people, relationships. So those were some of the interests. So I saw an intersection there. I don't know if did that make sense, Bettina? So, and like I said, it's really interesting. So this just happened this morning, this Venn diagram. And it was sort of like this brewing. And then, like I said, it really came from the field. So it wasn't in my head. It was really in my body where this came through. So this is an interesting process right now because I'm sort of merging the two as we speak. So then I looked at what is your superpower? And what are the biggest issues facing humanity today? And I saw, again, this convergence, or that where we intersected as a group, is that the biggest issues that we're seeing, and I think that really pertains to all of the work that we do, are human issues. And that each of our superpowers really seem to highlight that we have these superpowers of knowing how to connect people, how to really see people, to really see the issues, even if there's contentionality or challenges, or they're really inverse to one another. That we sort of have these superpowers of oversight, or Bettina, I remember one you shared was problem solving. Tammy had that one too. Helping people to get along and to grow. And so I put to grow and know. So it's that personal development that then creates that ripple. So by being the best me, I then can help someone else. I'm strong, and I have.
In this situation, what is a human issue? Just to understand what you mean by it.
So a human issue would be like interpersonal relationship challenges. I'm just going to pull this up because I think it'll be helpful for me. Here we go. So I'm just, if all of you are okay with this, I'm going to just read a few of them out. So we have the challenges section, which is a great need is to work together. We have a big challenge of politeness over truth. We have a challenge of overlooking integral knowledge and wisdom and ending up being frazzled and fractured and stressed out. We have the need to take intelligent, intentional action. So these are all, I was seeing a theme of these being human issues. So responsibility, taking personal responsibility. Duality consciousness. So all of these things are really about internal work. That's what I was seeing or feeling. And so again, I'd love each of your perspectives, because this came from all of us, all of this information. And this is us experimenting with compiling it together and seeing what happens when we put what we each really care deeply about on the 3 levels of conscience: the personal conscience, our group conscience, and our greater whole conscience. And how do we I was thinking of a reduction, when you make like a yummy sauce or something, how do we reduce that down into some potency where we really can find our passion point, where we all connect in this passion point, and there's real purpose there, and it's directed. So it sort of, we can channel that together as a group. And you can tell I'm a little bit excited, because that, that gets me excited about our theme, which brought us to this place, which is exploring conscious flocking. Did that make sense? Was that helpful, Bettina?
Yes, I think I understood what you meant by human issues. So yes, okay. Thank you.
So as I understand you right, you want us to give you a feedback about what you have collected?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
If that lens.
Yeah, I find it great, because you put a lot of work into it to get together what we have written, what we have said, and find the commonalities. And now they are written, because as soon as they are spoken out or written, they go into they gain a different level of reality, And this is really great. On the other hand, we have the feeling that we have something to do with each other, and they have a common ground. So this is sort of a confirmation attached to certain, let's say, qualities or certain traits which we have, but it's really good to have them together. I was astonished before to see all that. So I'm wondering, what can we now do when we know this from each other, where we have the matches? So that's what I bring into the discussion, and wonder what the others think about it. Tammy, you are mute somehow.
She's not muted, but I think her microphone doesn't work.
Mm. So maybe somebody else is talking while she is fixing that?
Okay, I can talk.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can see it's a lot of work you've done, and it's difficult for me to take it in before I've seen it myself, and I didn't have the possibility to see it before the call because it was only put up this today. So I was trying to listen to what Luna said, and I get the feeling I got was that you had sensed sort of a commonality between us, and that was why the human issues and the relational stuff was on top, because that was what we all sort of agreed on, or where we all sort of, and I think that makes sense. That's also my impression of this group, and I think it links very well to if we still want to continue with the topic of conscious human flogging, because it definitely has to do with that. So I mean, in that way, it's sort of, I feel like Heidi, that it's sort of cementing what I already knew somehow. So so I guess I'm a little bit sort of confused, because I don't really feel like I got a lot of new stuff. I haven't got a lot of new information, but I see the enthusiasm in you, Luna. So I feel that if you are sort of enthusiastic, then I'm happy, because because clearly until now we have not really found each other. So that's my hope, that these processes somehow can ultimately make us on the same page, and I don't think we are not there yet, but I hope that we gradually can sort of find, it's like, we're jumping out of a plane and we have the parachutes, but we haven't unfolded them, and then we dive down to find each other's hands, and we are making a circle, and then we let go and pull the parachute and down. And I think we're still in the falling process, trying to find each other's hands. But that's great.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I love that image, by the way. It's really good. And I'm very image-based, so that really, what I was going to say is that we all have different access points or ways in, and so yeah, I think I'm really experiential. So the act of Tammy and I really doing that together, and yeah, we really spend a lot of time, and such big thanks and kudos to Tammy for her creativity and enthusiasm as well in initiating that process. So I'm really grateful, and I'm really grateful to all of you for the work that you did leading up to this as well. Yeah. So yeah, the different access points, different modalities, and then how can we converge into that circle in the sky?
By the way, did you see my cartoon?
I loved it. Yes. It's fabulous. And that really helped me as well. Again, I'm very visual, so yeah, I was able to really feel it by seeing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I'd love to hear a little bit more from you about that too, or just you mentioned it was from a meditation, how that came, and yeah.
Should we take that afterwards? I thought we should take the round if we can. So yeah.
Gertraud, you must unmute yourself if you're speaking.
Yeah, I saw Tammy speaking and didn't hear her. So
okay. Can you speak now, Tammy? Can we hear that? No. So you have to go and visit Luna, I guess, when you want to be heard.
okay.
Okay, let's have Gertraud in the meantime.
When I listen to you, Luna, it feels like, yeah, I think it's not so. It feels like from above, looking at the videos we did, or the writing we did, and not taking each and every word, but the essence of it. But this like, what is it about? And then other words overflow. So when you talked about it and said they came from my heart, and they were not like summary of what we wrote and said, but the connected to the essence. And I think maybe till the next time it would be good that we all have seen all videos, so we are reconnected, because all together it makes sense. So that is the distillation. No, not even distillation. It's the essence. It's like the essential oils or so. They are not the plant, but they carry that essence. And I love that parachute thing, because it's a little bit scary as well. You know, like, what are we going to do together? And when I saw it and when you explained it, it was newly reconnected. So the way you presented it was new, but there was a deep knowing that it already exists. Otherwise, we wouldn't be together for such a long time. And there is one part that I felt very deeply in when I shared, but I can see it now from the others. That's the growing up, cleaning up, showing up, and all this. That's a part that we have to do with ourselves first, and then it overflows to others. And what you talked about, well, it's sure I want to have environment that the laws are different, that it's clean. But when we only go, we are only in the gross realm and only on the surface of what it is about. It's respect for people and nature. It's that deep love and knowing that we are connected. And if I know mother is my nature is my mother, I wouldn't do that. If I only have that exploitation way of looking at, okay, I can do anything. So I think, yeah, I think that change, if it doesn't include ourselves, it's not lasting. And it's blaming always others. It's blaming you should do it differently, and why didn't you? And, you know, the big bosses, why did they? And things like that.
I would say it's mainly ourselves. And first of all.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you very much for, yeah. And I'm really, like, you're so excited when you shared it. I said, oh, I have to revisit the others. I didn't go all the way through, but I just I just read quickly through it. But now I really have I really want to go back and revisit everything that we did to infuse that, what you did this morning.
Can I just, is it okay?
I'm done.
I just wanted to say about, it's mainly about ourselves. I definitely think that it has to start from within. But I also feel that we are very much in a time where we need to learn how to sense together. So we need sort of methods in order, when we are in group like this, to what is going on right now, what is the energy, where should we go with it? And I don't think we have the vocabulary, the methods. They don't, maybe they exist, but they're not culturally sort of accepted or really interwoven in our normal behavior. And I really feel that this is something maybe, or I hope this is something maybe we can co-create. That, of course, it comes from the inside experience, but it's also me sort of navigating together with you and hearing where is Gertraud, where is Heidi, where is Luna, where is Tammy, and is there a common space, and how can we build on the common space, and how can we use the differences and different perspectives in order to enrich the process. And I really feel that that's what humanity needs to learn. And I think conscious human flogging can be a part of that.
I totally agree, Bettina. When I said it's mainly us, I didn't mean exclude the group. This is the next step. I was saying it's not so much about fighting against patriarchy or something like this. You know, not to go too much outside before we haven't seen the thing inside. Because when I think, Gertraud, you were talking, and it immediately came to me, yeah, that's exactly this coldness of feeling which we have when we talk in a certain. You said that Mother Nature, when we know that that's our mother, we wouldn't do it. But as we have this coldness of feelings, we are doing it. I mean, we collectively, you know. And when you begin to, and the feelings are not cold; they are only disconnected. No, that's why they appear as if you didn't have feelings. And this, I think, everybody has to do really for themselves. It doesn't mean before we come together, but parallel, you know, and then coming together. This is the big chance. I have no idea how it will go. And also a little bit scary because, are we good enough? You know, then comes the Enya type, comes into the into discussion. But I'm sure that's the only way we can do anything. I'm completely convinced, and that's why I also talked about the conference, because these are places then in person, even better than online, where we can do this sort of work and be together in a different way.
I'm just thinking about my role as the migrants, and this was like I was at the outer circle and not knowing what to do and things like that, and I couldn't even turn around. And then there was connectedness coming up, respect coming up, the German soul. I'm just courage. So they came to me, and then I could turn around, and I had that feeling. Before I was kind of useless or just there to do some dumb work. But when all those qualities came to me, I really felt like my spine was just straightening up. And I had the feeling as if I can be of contribution. So it's of use that I'm here in Germany. It's okay, and my being different is a contribution, not a threat. But only when I came to my own self trust. That was one of the qualities that came to me, and the self trust really made connectedness and self trust really made that difference. Knowing my worth, knowing who I am, and being connected and working together, not either or. Either I just do as if I'm not a migrant, or just conflude in and nobody sees that I'm different and things like that. It was kind of not pride, that's a self-worth, self-trust. And only then I could contribute to the whole. Before I was just, you know, like, it was worthless. This feeling was really like,
And I think we can directly bring this into our group. The same thing. When we are have this respect, you said, the connectedness. What else was it?
Self-trust.
Self-trust,
And
self-worth,
courage,
also, and courage. Yeah, when we develop that, and then we can have a more upright spine, and then we can co-create. Before, when I think, maybe I cannot, and we won't be able to do anything. So it was a good how do you say, coincidence, co-image, let's say, for our situation here. So at this point, we are almost have done an hour, but I would like to invite Bettina. What you see, how do you have an idea how you want to do this human conscious flocking thing, I will say at the moment, because I have not yet understood how it will be, and we will see. But maybe you can give us a direction how we could go.
Could we try if Tammy?
That was just could we go 5 minutes late so we could just see if Tammy could give her input? I really long to hear her voice.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I hope it works. Now the whole thing has frozen. Oh my gosh.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Good. Okay. As soon as you could hear me, that my whole screen froze. So, but I very much appreciate that we have this technology and we can see each other, and it mostly works. I was really, in going through everyone's pieces, it was wonderful to feel the resonance with all of them. Even if it was something that I don't actually have as a strength, to feel the resonance with why that's important and why it's needed. So it really gave me a sense of what we all bring to the table. Before I just got off the call, I think Gertraud was mentioning it would be good for us to watch the videos if we can, to kind of have that full process. And I agree, if it's possible for people to see and to have a little late night TV, we TV, I like to call it. We can, really sort of be in that space together and see each other. So I'd recommend us taking time to be able to feel into each other's fields in that way, because it is powerful. And there's a lot more information that comes in feeling each other's presence when we're not in presence with them, because it's a different experience when we're witnessing outside of the present moment, and we can have an opportunity to reflect. But I'm excited. I'm excited about this group. I'm excited about who we are and what our passions and missions and superpowers are, as well as how we see these challenges in the world, because there's a lot of resonance there. And I'm excited to see, I'm excited to see how we see together. One of the muscles that I think we need to learn to grow as humans is how can we understand and bring more ideas into our mind and hold that tapestry, as well as how can we look together in that same direction after we've grabbed each other's arms off the airplane. How can we look together at the place where we want to go, so that we can include what we bring, who we are, and those pieces that we all shared and more. Because I really feel in reading everyone else's, I was like, oh, I can do that too. And I think we'll all have those experiences of being both inspired by and reminded that we have these skills and abilities ourselves. So I thank you, Bettina, for being patient with us. And I know that you just want to run and go, and I do too. But I also recognize that there's a coherence moment that we're experiencing now as a group, and I think it's really important and powerful and is going to teach us more. And it is an opportunity for me to learn too, so I really appreciate that. And if someone else would would be open to doing a session with Luna, I invite one of you to do that. And if timing is an issue, I'm happy to do it too. I just like to kind of share. I get to already know so deeply who Luna is, being my friend and housemate and family. So I'm happy to do it, but I'd invite someone else because I know that hasn't had an opportunity to happen yet. So I'll just pass this over to Bettina. I'd love to hear how you feel our next process would be good to unfold.
Thank you, Tammy. Maybe you could introduce yourself, because I can hear myself. And yeah, thanks. First of all, sure, I would love to interview Luna, so we can take care of that afterwards. Yeah, it's interesting you look to me, but maybe it's because I'm the project manager and I'm used to sort of tying the knots. It's interesting because I have all this process knowledge about things we need to establish before we even get into the airplane. Because sitting in the airplane, knowing that in 10 minutes we're going to jump, that's not the best place to find out that there are important things we haven't sort of found out. And it's not when we are hanging in the air that we are deciding where to go. We have already planned that long before. And that's why I called off the process we had decided earlier, because that type of process takes some preparation. And it's okay if we do it only on these meetings every month, but then it's going to take the rest of the year to prepare, and maybe that's fine. But I think, I guess what I'm struggling with is that I don't really want to take the traditional project manager responsibility. I sort of want to co-sense with you, but at the same time, I cannot just hang my experience and knowledge about this. I can't not use it. So it's going to be a dance. And I think when I'm sort of throwing a lot of material in your head and you don't respond, I'm sort of going back, because I don't want to be the traditional project manager unless you do the work. And if we are not ready to do that, I think we should proceed in another way. And I think that's also part of the learning curve. So to be truthful, I'm not quite sure where we are right now. Maybe we should take a check out to see what are you longing for? What is each of us longing for? What has been good for the last for this hour and for the last weeks, and what do we need more of? Because for me, there's a very clear path, but I can also see that I'm there alone. And maybe can I share my screen? Because can you see my drawing? I can't see if you're nodding, so you will have to say yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay, we have five little birds here, and they're thinking something, and I've called it the first flocking attempt. And there's one bird over here, and he's saying, why are they not following me? And then another bird down here, he's saying, I'll stay low because I'm not comfortable with heights. And then there's a bird over here, he says, where are we going? And this bird is staying very close to that bird, saying, I'll just stay close to that one, minding this one doesn't know where he's going. And this one doesn't really know how to fly. So he thinks, oh, I forgot to flap my wings, and is plummeting to the ground. And then we have an interlude where they sit around the fire and discuss. And so, unfortunately, another bird had died in the process. So what did we learn from this first attempt? And then the people who actually show up the next time, the birds who show up the next time, we call them the flocking wannabes, because now they understand what's sort of what's in this process, and they want to be there, but they still don't really know what's going on. So the bird who was plummeting to the ground before, he's so excited, woohoo, I can fly. but that means he can't really sense into the others because he's so much into his own experience. And this one is still confused because he doesn't really know who to follow and how. And then this one is following that one, and he's saying course, check, distance, check. But what was the third? There was a third thing I had to check. What was that? And then the one here, he's saying, I'm a bit higher up this time, ain't I? And of course, he's exactly at the same height as he was before. And the last one is sort of concluding, at least we are still here together, even though we are not really flocking. And then months later, we have conscious flocking wannabes who are actually able to flock and avoid big buildings and stuff like that. So this was what came up in my meditation. And I think this is where we are. We are in the lower box to the left, the second flocking attempt. We are still here. We want to be together, but we haven't found out how we're doing it, and we haven't established the rules. We just keep coming back because something is pulling us. There's a longing. And that dot months later, it doesn't really describe how we get there. And that's going to be a whole process. And of course, I have a lot of ideas, but I sort of also want to sense into where we are and what people need. So I think it would be nice to have sort of a round where people just say a little bit about that, if that's okay.
I can begin. On your little diagram, it's quite clear who you are, which bird you are in this. The others might be interchangeable a little bit. I agree that we are there where you said on the left, lower left, because for instance, I wrote to you here, I don't really know what you want us to prepare. So I think there is something, yes, but what? And what can we do to create something different than just talking as we did so far? So I'm still in this phase, and I as soon as I know what we can do, I help you in leadership. But until there, I have no idea. I have not the same, let's say, level as you have in these things. So, and I have no imagination how I could contribute at the same level as you are. So I'm happy to give you the leadership.
But what is your longing in this?
My longing is to observe what's coming out, and I hope something nice, but just to go on in some way,
So I'm inspired to have us consider doing some sessions over a weekend or something like that, over a 2 to 3 day period where we meet, we get given some direction and work, we come back, kind of like a bit of a weekend workshop or something like that. That way there's not too much time between the sessions and we can just do a push, because I feel like Bettina has some stuff to download for us to kind of walk away and process and come back. So I'm wondering if there's a 2 or 3 day period, whether it's a weekend or a during the week kind of thing, where we can set some time aside, maybe a couple of hours, to do some work together and help to form and frame and guide the process in a more, I like it being a little more constrained so our energy keeps flowing. And what I long for is to do it. I love you women. You're amazing and inspiring, and I'm just really excited to drop in and to see what emerges, just like Heidi said, to witness and watch what emerges between our beautiful, inspiring selves. Yeah.
So yeah, that feels really good. I like the idea of us condensing some time and learning. Bettina, you mentioned a language, sort of creating a language, and I feel like, yeah, this is about us learning a new language together, but also writing the language as we go, perhaps. And that you have some concrete tools, and you already have a whole language that you work with that, you know, I, for one, am completely unaware of. So there's already going to be a space between us just with that. And I like on our screen, Bettina, you're sort of on the far side from me. I don't know how it is for you. And I think of myself as very slow and coming from a feeling space. And so part of me says I'd be quite happy just to be in this space with all of you, and that is enough. And then there's the part of me that wants to grow and be challenged and really stretch. And I want to learn systems. I want to make things manifest in the world. So there's this little piece that's like this excitement, or the potentiality of what that greater piece could be, whether it be a project or a movement or I don't know. And I just wanted to share also in my checkout that I pulled a card. Tammy has this beautiful, beautiful deck called the Tao Oracle. And I just pulled a card for our session today, just for myself to have a little bit of clarity around us as a group. And I'm just going to show you the card. So if you can see, and so I'll read, it says, following: loyalty, adaptability, cooperation, trust, reliability, sensitivity to others, service, and receiving guidance. Yeah, so I think that kind of says it all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that feels right. Your card. When we talked about the parachutes, there's like knowing how and when to pull the strings. But before, you have to be in that, and it could be scary. And then have that connectedness, and then all together have that to be really, really effectful. So I find myself all kinds of birds in there. The one who says, what was the third thing? Check, check, check. And what was it? You know, like, what? How do we do that? And the other one, oh, I can fly. And, you know, I had all those, when you said, oh, I know that. Yeah, I know that, this one too. And I'm afraid of heights as well. So, so I have a bit of every of those birds, not the dead one yet. And it depends in which wings I'm flying, how that feels. So sometimes I'm with you to saying, okay, let's do that and go forward. And sometimes I'm completely somewhere else. And I think, oh, Bettina, I don't know what to do. And how do we do that? And then there is somebody, we decided to go with the Venn diagram, and I'm very happy to learn from you all. So I have my own agenda inside of me, like an appreciative inquiry process. So I could say, okay, first we do this and that and this and this. And so I find myself kind of leaning forward, leaning backward, and I'm not in a specific place. So I couldn't even really say, this is right, or no, I don't want this. Or sometimes it's all together at once. Yeah, I'm very grateful for today, and I apologize if I was carried on with my sharing, because it was a very, very intense feeling at that weekend. And what Tammy said, to be together, feel that connectedness, and even feel the arch from the constellation in Suffolk in Hungary, overlapping. So I found the migrants at another space this time when I took then I found them as European soul in Hungary. That was really interesting to see that there was development in the meantime. So I just want to say, if there's anything that I can contribute in the realm of my tools, but I don't want to, yeah. I'm very happy to learn from others too, so.
Thank you all. Now I can hear myself again, Gertraud, so maybe you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to hear your voices. And I think I need to clarify something. The reason I need structure is because I'm very much in the present. So now I'm just feeling a lot of stuff. And if I don't have a direction, I can go everywhere. I'm also all the birds, actually, because it depends. So that's why I seem very structured, and I have to be, because otherwise I'm just sitting there, being present and being pulled in whatever feeling. So that's why I really had to learn myself methods and structure, because otherwise I would never get anything done. And I think that's also taught me how not to spend my energy just chasing my own tail. So that's why I get frustrated, not because I felt it was really interesting to hear your experience, but because we hadn't made an agenda when we first started, so I didn't know how long time it would take, and I felt that we had some very interesting stuff going on. So we could have talked the whole hour about your experience, but that should just have been our purpose then. So, and that's because I really feel so much for this process, and I'm of course afraid that it will take another month before we can meet again. I'm sort of sitting here. I really like Tammy's idea, but that's that sort of we all have to agree, and we all have to feel that this is important enough that we want to spend the time. I surely would. Another thing I was thinking about, and I don't know if it's useful, was that I could make like a 10-minute monologue and tape it and share it with you, where I present what the theory U process is, and what we need to prepare in order to actually reach to the point where we can do the workshop. So, because I think I never got the chance to explain that, I just sent a lot of PowerPoints your way and you got totally overloaded. And I don't know if that would be helpful, or whether it would be better to actually prepare an online session where I describe it and you can ask questions, or so it depends what you want. But I still think that the theory U process could be very helpful, and we could definitely add the appreciative inquiry. I could see them help each other. But for me, it's just important that we pick something and sort of do it, and we know why we're doing it. Because in that way, I'm a method fascist. So.
I would say at this point that we pick out, let's say, a week where we have a little bit more time, and then do 2 or 3 sessions, maybe one on Monday, one on Wednesday, one on Friday, or something like this. And then we have a day of time to to work on it and see each other, because I find it difficult when there are 4 or even more weeks in between. It's out of context or everything. So, oh, how was it, you know? So when we want to go deeper and more intense, I think it is a good idea. Maybe not a weekend or 3 days all together, because that might be a little bit, but I totally agree. And at this point, I would close the recording, and then we can talk about that. Anyway, thank you, ladies. It was, I think we're on a good way. Thank you. To the insistence also of Bettina, because sometimes we need a little bit of kick in the butt. Okay.